Hi, I'm Shawn Darling, and this is Micro Budget Movie Making. This episode is about a short film we made called Letting Go. A couple of weeks ago, me and Emmy sat down and said that we're going to make a short film to the best of our abilities, but we're going to do it in a really short amount of time. We had originally said we were going to make this film in 48 hours to challenge ourselves and to see how good of a film we could make in that amount of time. We'd watched many other films of this type, most of them with too many actors, not enough equipment, the wrong equipment, and just not enough of the right things coming together at the same time when and where it really counted. This film was not about special effects, or which camera we used, or who was in it. This film was about story first, then characters, and so on. So with that in mind, we got started. We sat down and talked about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to shoot, and within minutes had our shot list and our story. And we realized the quickest way to write this script is to have no dialogue. So basically we wrote a story that's all set to music. Once we had our shot list written out, in the next few minutes we talked about what the lead character was wearing, that she needed to look like a single mom struggling financially and emotionally. So after picking from wardrobe we had on hand, we had our first 3 shots. They were to be outside shots of the character walking down the street with a bag of groceries. In the interest of time, since we were trying to shoot this quickly as possible but as carefully as possible, instead of bringing out the large camera setup, the track and dolly and more, I used a small gimbal camera I have that came with my drone. It's a small handheld gimbal camera that keeps itself perfectly still and floats while you shoot, like a Steadicam. It shoots at 4K resolution, so I knew the footage would be good, but it saved us a lot of time because we just basically had to walk outside with it and shoot. Once the outside shots were done, we had to decide how to set up for the inside shots. We started shooting in our kitchen. Since it was our own house, it was easily available. We had set up a homemade dolly and track, and also set our larger camera next to the sink, filming Emmy for the close-up shots. The best way to shoot is to get all of your wide-angle shots first, and then moving closer for your medium shots and then your close-ups if possible. This will save you a lot of time in setting up the camera, so you don't have to set up in one way, then go back to set up another way and back to another way every time you have a shot. It was easy to get these shots because it was only me on the camera and Emmy in front of it. We didn't need a boom operator or a sound recorder, since all of this is going to be silent anyway. So after all the kitchen shots were done, we actually had to shoot down a long hallway where the camera would push forward following Emmy, tracking in both directions until we got to a room at the end of the hallway that belonged to a little girl. Since we didn't have a long hallway in our house, or this particular room, so we had to come up with a way to do it. Either get a location that looked exactly like we wanted, that matched our kitchen, or possibly build it digitally. And what we decided to do in the interest of time was to go ahead and build it. So we went into Maya, a 3D CGI program, and built the virtual environment and textured it to look exactly like we wanted it to look. Then we went into our garage, where we have a couple of green screens set up, added some tracking markers, and using that handheld gimbal camera, I actually filmed her in front of the green screen doing all the motions she would actually do walking down the hallway. That way we could go ahead and composite her back over the top of these shots. They were match moved in a program called Nuke, to where the motion of the camera and the motion of the CGI would blend together seamlessly as if they were shot at the same time. We'll have another episode where we go more detail into that. Once the shots were done and everything was rendered, we composited them together, and she wound up looking like she was really walking down the hallway. Then the shots were taken into our editing program, edited together for our final film. We're not done with the final film yet, but we're getting closer every day as we have to render more of these hallway shots and composite them together And rendering takes a long time. Rendering is one of those things that you just have to have a lot of patience for. You want to have as much computing power as you can too, so that it renders as fast as possible. But sometimes we spend a whole night rendering the elements we need for a shot. And we may spend an entire week rendering those elements just for one shot. It really depends on the level of complexity and how photorealistic it needs to be in the end. That wraps up episode 2. I hope you guys learned a lot. There will be a lot more episodes coming up, explaining more of these steps in detail. And we're going to specifically go into things like green screening, which equipment to buy, the cheapest way to do something over another, and sometimes how to do something with expensive equipment. I'm Shawn Darling, and this has been Micro Budget Movie Making.